Again, I looked and saw all the oppression that was taking place under the sun. I saw the tears of the oppressed, and they have no comforter. Power was on the side of their oppressors, and they have no comforter. And I declared that the dead, who had already died, are happier than the living, who are still alive, but better than both is the one who has never been born, who has not seen the evil that is done under the sun. So this is a verse from the Bible in the Old Testament, where it talks about antinatalism, which is like, so antinatalism is like a branch of philosophy where like antinatalists will believe that it is immoral to have children, and that creating children is one of the worst things you could do and is immoral, and everyone has a moral obligation to not have children. And like at first it sounds like extreme and crazy, and I believe the same thing at first. Like when I heard this argument, when I heard this branch of philosophy, but then like I did some more research, and I found it compelling enough, and I actually believe this now. This is a deep down conviction of mine now. And I kind of wanted to talk about like why like and how I could believe something so pessimistic and like nihilistic. And like one thing I like to like preface is like I don't think I'm not calling for like the people, like every person to end their life. Like a life not worth beginning is like not the same as a life not worth continuing. Like nihilism, like I think everyone should continue living, like especially if you're looking through the lens of utilitarianism. Like if you ended your life, the suffering you would like encounter throughout your life would most likely not be equal to the suffering and trauma you like inflict on your friends and family, like your community, if that makes sense. Like yeah, if you can even like quantify something like this. And the first thing I'd like to say, like present for my case and like why I believe this now, is David Benatar's like asymmetry argument. He calls it the asymmetry argument. And it was something like this: like when like a person exists like in this world, they will experience pain and pleasure, both of them, and like most people agree on that, and most people agree like to the fact that pain is bad and pleasure is good. But like, how would that affect someone who does not exist, who isn't born yet, like not even in the womb, just like not conceived? Like in this, like Benatar concludes like the absence of pain is good, like no matter what. Like even if there's no one to enjoy like the goodness of that absence of pain and suffering. Like it kind of reminds me of that like short story, like I have no mouth and I must scream. Like in this like novel, a supercomputer or like an AI takes over and destroys the world, destroys humanity. But the AI keeps like five specific people alive and like tortures them like for its like own, not for its own pleasure, but like for like revenge on humanity. And no one knows like why they kept like these specific five people, but like he tortures them endlessly out of hatred for humanity. Like he starves them, throws them around in windstorms. And at the end of the book, at the end of the novel, one of the characters, like Ted, he found an opportunity to free all of them by stabbing them with an icicle, like basically killing all four of them. And Ted is tortured like forever after this. Like the AI never takes his eye off of him, but like he finds like satisfaction. Like he finds the willpower to go through with this because he saved the other four from suffering this wrath too. Now, like if you want to read this, you can find it online for free. It's like only 7 pages. It's really, and it's like it's a really good novel. And like, although like these four characters are not able to enjoy the absence of their pain, like it's still better. Like even Ted concluded that the others, the others wanted to die, but they even if they couldn't like experience the goodness, if you know what I'm saying. Like, okay, now you're probably thinking like the absence of pleasure is a bad thing, and like it is. Like if you have someone to deprive that pleasure of, like Benatar argues that you cannot deprive a person who does not exist of joy or happiness. Like, because who are you taking it from, right? Like you have a potential of taking joy, like if you choose to not have children, but like they don't exist, if that makes sense. So we see an asymmetry here. Like non-existence can guarantee like for 100% like no pain, which is good, and like it also results in no pleasure, which is like neutral, it doesn't matter. So mathematically, I'll show like a graph of like the asymmetry argument. But like if someone comes into existence, you have both pleasure and pain, which can both like cancel each other out. So mathematically, it makes sense to not make children. And like one thing I like to say is like consent is like such a big problem with creating life. Like most people's moral framework, you need consent for like a major decision. Like imagine if you were being tickled without your consent by a stranger. That'd be crazy. Like you'd want consent and it'll like violate your like you as a human. And I think procreation is like the biggest act of imposition you can put on anyone. It is the biggest decision of your life because it's like what starts everything, and it is like 100% like decided by your parents without any of your own authority. Like you're subjected to being alive in a broken world. You experience the fear of death. You experience like you see people suffer. You suffer too throughout this world. And like by the time you're old enough to like think critically, like evolutionary biology like drives you to be it drives you to survive. It gives you social guilt for leaving people, and like it causes pain around others, so you don't really have a right to life because you don't have the right to death, if that makes sense. I like to say I'm not calling for the suicide of all people right now. like like you're a complex being and like your community depends on you, and under like a utilitarian view, we're trying to eliminate suffering by ending your life. You're causing suffering to other people. So I think it would be better for you to stop, like try bringing pleasure to other people instead of like ending your like own suffering. Uh, like another thing I like to say is like you might think like anti-natalism like they hates children, and I think like some like anti-natalists definitely do hate children. Like I scroll through the subreddit, it's crazy. Like like from a philosophical viewpoint, antinatalism like does not hate children. Like it actually loves them so much. Maybe not so much, but like it just doesn't want them to suffer like ever. Like here, I'll quote this from Benatar. Some antinatalist positions are founded on either a dislike of children or on the interests of adults who have greater freedom and resources if they do not have and rear children. My antinatalist view is different. It arises not from a dislike of children, but instead from a concern to avoid the suffering of potential children and the adults that they would become, even if not having those children runs counter to the interests of those who would have them. And I like to agree with this like 100%. I agree exactly what Benatar says. And like I like this one more thing, hmm, like there's like such an absurdity with like our situation. Like you're being forced to experience this joy and suffering, like all because of a decision that you didn't make, like at all. Like we spent like I spend my you spend your whole life trying to make like sense of it. You did not sign up for it. You're like sustaining your own body, and like all I have to say is like you did not choose this.